Okay, so now we need to gather the sleeve head, sew into the armhole. So I'm going to start sewing from the gather notch. I'll just turn my stitch length up to a 4. Alright, so we're stitching this at 8mm. So I back tack just before the gather notch up over the sleeve head and down the other side, and just do a back tack. So we're stitching on the other side of the stitch line now. So now we're just going to gather that sleeve head up a little bit so that it fits in to the armhole a bit easier. So we've got our 2 threads and we're going to pull them at once. Okay, so now we've gathered that up, we want to insert it into our armhole. So we've got our armhole here. So we want to match up the underarm. And once you've got that matched, you can pull the garment inside out, and we're just going to stick some pins in here. So we've got 1 pin for the underarm. So this is our front balance notch, and we've got, so this is that extra notch that we didn't use in the other armhole, but it's important this time. And just have a look through and find your shoulder notch. So match that up with your shoulder seam. Your back gather notch. And your 2 back balance notches. Seems like a lot of notches, but each of them has its purpose. Whether we have our sleeve pinned in place, you can see that that's actually fitting in quite nicely, that amount of gather, but we just want to even that out a little bit. So just give that a little shuffle around, just to even, so you get a nice even gather. And then the length into the back there. Now that fits in nicely with that length there. And I put the pin on the other side, so I'll just put the pin over on this side here, flip it over, and then I'm going to use the figure 8. So now I'm going to start sewing the sleeve into the armhole. Okay, so we're starting to sew from our underarm that I've left my stitch length long, so I have to redo my stitch length back to its original position, about 2 3/4, and then start sewing. And again, I should be able to sew between those 2 rows of stitching. Remember, you can just tweak the gathers at this stage as you go along if you need to. And down into the underarm curve. Your original gathering threads, they'll be easier to pull out from this side. Pull those out, give it a bit of a, because you back tacked at the end there. So just give it a bit of a shuffle. Now just make sure that when you're pulling out this row of this thread here, that you don't actually pull on your stitch line and pull your stitch line out. See, because we pulled out that bobbin thread there, when you go through to this side, you should just be able to pull that thread away on the top there.